Hello and welcome back, wonderful people. We are continuing with calculating the cost of manufacturing goods. Today we are, or in part 2, we're dealing with catering, that is cooking a complete meal. The calculations, you can also use them for bread making, for bakery, and for a biscuit factory. We assume that we are catering for 50 people and we will need 5 kgs of meat, and meat is 90 rands per kg, and so 5 kg will be 450. 5 times 90, 450, and we will use one packet of 2 kgs of rice at 38 rands, and we will need 2 heads of cabbage and 2 heads of cabbage at 40 rands. And then we will need some mayonnaise for 75. This is coleslaw, and then that will be 75. And for a gravy, we will need 4 onions. 1 kg is 10 rands, and we will use all 4 onions, all the entire 1 kg. And 2 packets of tomatoes at 20 rands, we'll use it all. And 750 mils of oil at 41 rands. And then we'll also serve some beetroot, 3 bunches at 45 rands. And then we will need onions, that is for the meat and all that, 2 onions at 5 rands each. And oh no, this is for the beetroot. When we dress it, add a greater onion, add some vinegar and sugar. And vinegar we will need 1.5 cups, and that will be 9 rand 98, and sugar 1.5 cup at 8 rand 34 cents. So to calculate the total cost of meals, we're going to add up all of these costs, and here we are adding them all up, and they give us 722 rands and 32 cents. And then we want to serve 50 people, so as the cost per plate will be 722, which is the total 722 and 32 cents divided by 50 plates, so each plate will be 14 rand and 45 cents. But remember, that is just the cost of food. We did not add, if you give cold drinks, obviously you will give cold drinks. We haven't added them. And if it is a wedding or something like that, or a party or something, you definitely would also serve a dessert. We did not serve it. This is just for the main meal, 14 rand 45 cents. So it's fairly straightforward how to calculate your costs, because we're trying to encourage manufacturing. And here's another straightforward one: juice making, extracting juice from fruits. And this one you can also use for extracting oil. Could be oil from sunflower, oil from nuts, ground nuts and stuff like that. Also used for grain milling, because grain milling, basically what you do, you just take the grain and mill it, and then you weigh the end product. And you would also know how much you have put in and how much it cost you. So for this one, let's say we're making apple juice, we will need one box of apples. It will be 18 kgs, and we buy it at 170 rands. So we're going to use the entire box. And let's assume that now when we extract the juice from the apples, we end up with 11 liters of apple juice, because remember, we throw away, or we don't use the flesh. So we're going from 18 kilograms of apples, we assume that we will end with 11 liters, because we threw out the flesh. And then we want to pack them, excuse me, in bottles of 300 milliliters. So we want to calculate the cost of each bottle of 300 milliliters. We'll go by this: 1 liter is equals to 1,000 milliliters. Therefore, the juice cost per milliliter will be that 170. It's that one, the box of apples. It will be 170 divided by 11 liters multiplied by 1,000, or divided by 11,000 milliliters, and we get 1.5 cents. And then if we pack them in 300 milliliters, we want the cost of each bottle, so it will be 300 milliliters multiplied by 1.5 cent, and it is 4.50. That small bottle of juice of 300 milliliters of juice will cost you, it shall have cost you 4.50. But that is just the cost of the juice itself, not including the bottle in which it is packaged, and not including the label that includes your brand name and your branding. Just the cost of that. Like we said, we will talk about the others when we come to pricing, but the cost of that juice is 4.50. And now let's move on to making jam. If you want to make jam, obviously before you do these things, you need to know the technical part, how to do it. Know the technical part, and the technical part will now also tell you what you are going to need, and then you will also calculate the cost of the ingredients that you are going to need to be able to calculate this. But knowing the technical part is very important. And so now if you are cooking jams, just know that you will be cooking your fruit with sugar, and you will need pectin. There are some fruits that are high in pectin. Pectin, it is what makes it a little bit thicker, like jelly. So you would have you have some fruits that are high in pectin. That would be your apples and your oranges. They are high in pectin, and high pectin fruits, they go best with granulated sugar. And then you also have uh, low pectin fruits, and to obtain more pectin, you can mix low pectin fruits with lemon juice. And also to maximize getting more pectin, use excuse me, use slightly underripe fruit to increase the potential of, or the levels of pectin, because pectin is what makes it jelly like, instead of being too thin and watery. So let's assume that now we will need one box of apples, and that the one box is 18 kilograms, and we buy it for 170 rands. And then we will need 2.5 kgs of sugar at 55 rands, and 1 kg of lemon. Remember that we said that lemon, it helps to increase the pectin and to make it a little bit thicker. So if you buy 1 kg of or one bag, which is 1 kg of lemons at 26 rands, and then we can add a little bit. This is the recipe I looked up. You do need to add a little bit of salt. Say we add 1 cup, because we're using the entire box, and we add 1 cup of salt, and that will be 7.38. So now to calculate the total cost of this batch, we are going to add up all these costs. And when we add them all up, we end up with 258 rands and 68 cents. And now if this yields, if this gives us 20 liters, because remember it was 18 kg and we add 2.5 kg of sugar to it, and it's going to melt. I assume, I haven't done it, but let's assume that now we end up with 20 liters. Remember that 20 liters is 20,000 mils. We end up with 20 liters of jam after cooking it, and 20 liters is 2,000 mils, 20,000 mils, and the cost of 20,000 mils was 258. That is that 258. So now to get the cost of 1 milliliter of jam, you're going to divide 258 divided by 20,000 mils, and this gives us 0.13. That is just a little bit over 1 cent. And now assume that we are going to pack it in jars, or we're going to can them, and the cans or the jars will be 500 milliliters. So the cost of that jar or that can will be 500 milliliters multiplied by that figure, just a little bit over 1 cent, and that will be 6.50 rand. So 1 can or 1 jar of jam will cost you 6.50 rand. That is just the product itself without anything else. And now let us, I think we still have a little bit of time. Let us now quickly rush to peanut butter. Say you make peanut butter, the calculations can also be used for calculating pasta, because both pasta is very simple. It's just flour and eggs, and then you add the mix them together. But now here we're talking about making peanut butter. How do you make peanut butter? You get peanuts and then you roast them and add a little salt, and you may add a little sugar, and then also you add oil. There is a peanut butter making machine. If you don't have, you can make you can use food processor, or you can use a blender, an industrial blender, but there is a machine. So say we use 5 kg of peanuts, that's 230 rands. Half a cup of salt is 3 rand 69. We say we use 3/4 of cup of sugar, and 2.5 kg of sugar is 55 rands. That is equivalent of 10 cups, and 1 cup will be 55 rands over 10, and that will be 5 rand 50. But we want to use 3/4 of a cup, so it will be 3/4 times 5 rand 50, because 1 cup is 5 rand 50, and we end up with 4 rand 30, and 2 liters of oil will be 75 rand. Now to get the total cost of the batch, we're going to add all these up, and when we add them up, we get 312 rands and 82 cents. And if the batch gives us 6.5 kgs of peanut butter, and we want to pack them in 450 grams bottles, 6.5 or 6.5 kg is the same as we convert to grams, because remember we're going to pack them in 450 grams bottles or cans. So it will 6.5 kg is 6,500 grams, and 6,500 grams is equivalent, it costs us 312 and 82 cents. So to get the cost of each gram, we will divide that 312 by 6,500 grams, and we get a little over 4 cents. And if you pack them in 450 grams jar, then it is 450 multiplied by that 0.048, just over 4 cents, and it will be 21 rand 60. So a jar or a can or a bottle of peanut butter of 450 grams, the contents only will cost you 21 rand 60 cents, without the bottle itself and without the label. But it's good to know how much the cost of each bottle, how much it costs you to produce it. So we will end it here today, and then in part 2, this is part 2. In part 3, we will do ice cream. If you want to do ice cream, and that you can also use for ice popsicles and popcorns.